And in case any of you don't know, this series was really spawned 2 years ago. And in case you also don't know, Chris here is my pastor, and he is also a writer. And he is really the first writer that I've ever known. And he and I challenged each other to NaNoWriMo 2 years ago, which is National Novel Writing Month, in case you didn't know. And we decided to have a competition. And it turns out we were both very competitive, but I won. Just saying. So this was supposed to be a short story series based on the seals and Revelations. And it has turned into, obviously, way more than that. And I wrote 4.5 of that short story series during the first NaNoWriMo, and it has kind of just grown from there until this one. And part 2, you've seen the cover. That will come out November 1st, in case you care. And part 3 is scheduled for Christmas, so it's ready for Cyber Monday, because I don't suck at marketing, so I'm thinking ahead. Anyway, and then the next 4, all next year, so I can move on. But I want to just read from Revelations because that was the original inspiration. There is no one greater than God, and he is really the one that told me what to write and what to say, and he told me to keep going and put all of you here to help keep building that dream. So, the 7 seals. Now I watched when the Lamb opened one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures say with a voice like thunder, "Come," and I looked, and behold, a white horse, and its rider had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he came out conquering and to conquer. And if you do some research on that seal, it is said that it is the rise of the Antichrist, so I kind of cemented that down and worked that into book 1, and that is the entire concept of this. So I'm going to read from chapter 7, so if you haven't read it yet, it's a little bit of a spoiler alert and a tease at the same time. And I wasn't sure how long to read either. Your phones are freaking me out. Okay, chapter 7. Elric rolled restlessly in his sleep. The earth spread out flat below him, with wispy smoke rising up from the grass. The smoke snaked over the ground to veil towns and cities. It billowed to blanket valleys and filled the air until what seemed a third of the earth was affected. Hail began to fall, piercing through the sheen. Then, joining the white rain, flaming hail singed away sections of the areas covered by the smoke, igniting the grass and making blades scream as they died. The trees could not flee from the onslaught, and fire nested in branches. Tears of blood trickled over dying trunks as they burned. The waters of the seas beneath the veil roiled, and Elric gasped for air as he slept, his spirit feeling the turmoil. A giant mountainous form fell from the heavens into the seas, pulling the water into itself as the weight of the heavy mass shifted the earth on the seafloor. The waves gathered strength and climbed the height of the mountain, rising soaked with blood, heavy with the corpses of the creatures that had once made their home in its depths. Ships crashed and sank into the high waves. Moaning, Elric whirled, not wanting to see any more of the earth that cried out as it died. A star glimmered bright. For a moment he felt his restless spirit ease, and then the star began to fall, so fast that the light surrounding it became fire. The waters reached out for it, welcoming it into the unsettled home of its surface and blackening the blues and greens into bitterness. The bitter water snaked its way from the seas into the springs and into the mouths of man, and they fell dead as they drank. Tears wet Elric's cheeks as he tried to wake, to escape the tragedy he was witnessing. The sun tried to turn away, and 1/3 of it was struck into blackness. The moon tried to turn away, and 1/3 of it was struck as well. 1/3 of the stars tried to turn away, and were struck. Darkness claimed the third of each, a strange phenomenon that Elric's mind could not seem to grasp. An angel appeared, its mighty form awesome, its features frightening. Elric's spirits rose up in hope, even as he grappled with the wonders of what he was seeing. The angel cried out in woe, its sorrowful song a crushing weight of despair. Beneath him, a star was handed a key. The air parted, and a shaft of an abyss appeared. The key tore away the shadows that enclosed the shaft, and smoke began to pour out, billowing, dark and thick, rising up to darken the sun and sky. From the smoke, strange locust-like animals appeared, spreading out over the lands that Elric could see. People lifted their heads, a mark gleaming on their foreheads. More lifted their right hands, reaching out for the locusts. There, the same mark gleamed, a beacon that drew the strange creatures. Sucking in a horrified breath, Elric gasped as knowledge that they would die filled him. The locusts descended on them, fulfilling his foreboding, the people crying out in torment, begging that brought no mercy. Elric sobbed as he lay in the clutches of sleep, his body curling into itself, seeking comfort. A trumpet sounded, and 4 more angels appeared. They stood, imposing and magnificent, at the four corners of earth that he could see. Multitudes of angels rose behind them, some on horses, and began to march upon the earth. They and their horses were like nothing Alaric had ever seen before. Fear gripped him, his muscles tightening as he writhed, the expectation of more horror flooding his heart and soul. From the mouths of the army, fire, smoke, and sulfur were expelled and sought the lives of more that bore the mark. Blood covered the land that tragedy befell. The riders' horses breathed upon those that challenged the power they held, their tails striking out with death. Those that remained still did not turn away, shrouded in the veil that seemed to signify where death belonged. They danced for the darkness, laughed in arrogance as they worshipped it, evil deeds flowing from their hands. Sobbing, Alaric tried to scream in his sleep. A mighty angel appeared, and the scream caught in his throat. A cloud surrounded the being, a rainbow arched above its head, and its face was as bright as the sun and impossible to look at. Averting his eyes, Alaric watched as the angel put his left foot into the sea and his right onto the land. It shouted as loud as a lion, the roar reverberating, making Alaric feel as though he vibrated from within. Thunder crashed, seeming to come from many different directions. The angel raised his right hand to heaven. Hope quieted Alaric. Awe stilled his body. Anticipation trembled through him. The wispy smoke spread until it covered the whole of the earth. Alaric breathed in, his lips parting and his spirit singing. The angel reached out and put a scroll into his mouth. It was sweet and tasted like sugary honey that was pleasant as he swallowed, but his stomach roiled and rejected it when it became bitter. Bile rose up, and Alaric awoke as it filled his throat, lurching to his feet to rush to the bathroom and empty the contents of his stomach. Lying on the floor, Alaric prayed, asking that God take away the visions. They were too much, too vivid, too real, and they were consuming him.